Hi everyone, and welcome to my attempt at a Pokemon-wide Hardcore Nuzlocke using fighting types only. Fighting types are usually pretty cool. They make for great team members, but on their own they kind of lack diversity. You usually just get a hard-hitting physical attacker, which is a great addition to a team, but a complete team of just that opens itself up to some weaknesses. Speaking of weaknesses, fighting types are weak to flying and psychic, and looking at Unova, we're up for somewhat of a challenge. For the first gym, we only have a Tepic, so with Cress's Pampor, we're at a disadvantage. Elesa, the electric type gym leader, has two Emolgas, both with step aerial ace. Skyla is a flying type gym leader, and Iris and her dragons are always pretty tough. And in the Elite 4 we have Chantal, whose ghosts are immune to fighting, and Caitlyn, who specializes in psychic types. So yeah, this will be quite a challenge, and we don't have that many encounters. We got in Embor, Conkeldurr, Throw, Sulk, Scrafty and Mienshao. So that basically means that one death means we no longer have a full party. I also feel like it's important to mention that this is actually my first time ever going through a vanilla Unova game. I have played parts of Blaze Black 2, a hack by Draiano, but never the actual game, so I'm really looking forward to it. We start the game with picking our starter, and luckily one of the starters turns into a fighting type. Obviously we pick Tepic and I name him Bench Press. After that we have the first two of many rival battles. We then take our first steps together and our journey begins. Arriving in Accumulate Town, we get our first taste of Team Plasma. Getsis is giving some weird speech and we battle N. We are slightly underleveled but manage to take down the Purloin. After that I make my way to Striaton City, but before we get there, Bianca challenges us to a battle. Now I think it's important to note that due to the insane number of rival fights, I won't be going over all of them, but will be going over some. We do win here easily, as Bianca still doesn't have a counter against our Tepic. In Striaton City we also have our first gym battle. There are 3 gym leaders here, and depending on your starter you'll have to face one. All have a Lillipup, but they also have the Elemental Monkey that's super effective against your starter. In our case, a Pampor. Now this was the first gym battle, but also the first big hurdle, as we only have Tepic. I open the battle by using Tail Whip, as Lillipup goes for Workup. I then hit a critical hit Ember for about 75% damage, as Lillipup goes for Bite. Cress uses a potion, as we hit another Ember, taking it to just under half. Next one barely misses the kill, and Lillipup gets off another Bite. Our Oranberry activates, bringing us back to over half, and the next Ember takes it out. That was the easy part. Now for the Pampor. We do get the level up, and we learn Flame Charge, so we remove Ember. Pampor sets up a Workup, as we had a crit Flame Charge. We're now faster, and we hit the Tail Whip, lowering its defense. Water Gun takes us to really low health, and next turn we actually hit another crit, taking out the Pampor. This one is the first gym battle, and yeah, there was some luck involved, but I think we would have won anyway. After gaining our first badge, we make our way to the Dream Yard, where we beat up some grunts. They did steal a mana, so we need to chase them. After some time, our Bench Press evolved into a Pig Knight, and with that he gains his fighting type. I also made sure to teach it Workup, and we continue our quest of chasing some Team Plasma grunts. We eventually tracked them down to the Wellspring Cave, and here Charon and I beat them up again. This made sure that Mana goes back and lives happily ever after. After those plot points, we arrive in the Green City. We're currently running really close to the level cap, but luckily we're close to our next encounter. In the Pinwheel Forest, we can catch either a Throw, Sulk or Timber. I'm somewhat hoping for a Throw or Sulk here, as we get the opportunity to catch another Timber shortly after here. But we find a Timber anyway. I catch it and name it Squat. Squat has the Guts ability, which is amazing, but he cannot evolve into its final form. Just like Machoke, he needs to be traded in order to evolve, so at best we can get a Girder. Before we take on the second gym leader, we have to face N again. He opens with Pit Off, as I send in Squat. Squat is still too low of a level, so I swap right back into Bench Press. We go for Workup and then Oko with Flame Charge. Next is Timple, who goes down to an Arm Thrust, and lastly is Timber, who also goes down to a Flame Charge. Did you know that literally every single move I used in this battle was a crit? I really hope I haven't used up all my luck in this battle. But after taking out N, it's time for the second gym battle. Lenora is a normal type gym leader, so you'd think this would be a breeze, right? Well, it was, but it could have gone extremely wrong. I open the battle with Bench Press, as Lenora sends out her Herdier. Herdier has Intimidate, which lowers our attack. The plan is to sweep with Bench Press, so first I set up a defense scroll. I then go for another and then a Workup. After that our Oranberry pops and it's time to use Arm Thrust. This takes out Herdier and in comes Watchhog. He hits Hypnosis and then a Retaliate, leaving us at only 19 HP. Luckily, we wake up next turn and hit an Arm Thrust for just over half. Next turn, another Retaliate hits, leaving us at 6 HP. Our Arm Thrust takes it out though, winning us our second badge. Immediately after the battle, we're notified of Team Plasma. They actually steal a Dragon Skull and we need to retrieve it. We follow Team Plasma into the Pinwheel Forest and beat them up. The Pinwheel Forest is actually really cool and looks great, but somehow I lost my footage of it. After that we can make our way to the giant bridge, which takes us to Castelia City. This place is huge and it also leads us to our next encounter. On Route 4 I encounter a Scraggy. I catch her and name her Leg Press. Leg Press has the Moxie ability, which will be coming in clutch many times during this run. Before being able to take on Berg, I need to deal with Team Plasma again. So we do that and we actually see Getsis again. Now Berg is going to be quite the easy battle. To be honest, I expect another bench press sweep here. And that's exactly what happens. He leads with Whirlipede as I send in bench press. I set up 2 workups as Whirlipede hits a Poison Tail. Flame Charge then one-shots it and in comes Dwebble. He goes down to 2 Flame Charges and Leavenny goes down to the next, granting us an easy third badge. With Berg down, we make our way through the desert and arrive in Nimbasa City. Here we see some Team Plasma grunts attack some old men, so we step in and save the day. I then go to some kind of contest hall and dress up our poor Scraggy. Just look at her, poor girl. After that we go to the Ferris wheel and make ready for a very sensual date with N. I know that if we reject him, he'll attack us, and he has a very scary Sigilif, so I need to play this one nice. Turns out my ex shows up, so N is visibly angry and attacks us. I open with Leg Press as N sends out his Sandal. We're about to see why I'm so happy with Moxie. Brick Break one-shots and we get the first Moxie boost, a +1 to our attack. And Scraggy comes in, who goes down to a +1 Brick Break. Thanks to the Moxie boost, we're now at +2. Sigilif comes in and uses Air Cutter, so if he crits or flinches, we're basically done for. Luckily we live on 17 HP and don't flinch, breaking through and hitting a +2 Feint attack. Lastly is Darumaka, and since we outspeed, we can one-shot it with a +3 Brick Break. Before taking on the gym, I do some grinding, and while grinding, Squad evolved into a Girder. Against Elesa, I'm honestly super scared. Her 2 Emolgas can do massive damage with Aerial Ace, and Zebstrika just generally hits hard. But it's time for our Moxie Scraggy to show his powers again. I open the battle with Leg Press as Elesa sends in Emolga. I go for Payback, which will be boosted if we're hit, and since Emolga is faster, it will definitely be boosted. For some reason, Emolga goes for Pursuit. Okay, well, I'm not complaining. It does 2 HP damage and we retaliate with a crit Payback, taking it out. The perfect start. We're now also +1 attacks thanks to Moxie, and the next Emolga does go for an Aerial Ace. It hits us for over half and we hit Payback for the one shot. Static does activate, but we're now at +2, so I want to stay in. Lastly is Zebstrika, who goes for Spark, leaving us at only 6 HP. Luckily, we're not paralyzed and we had a +2 boosted Payback for another one shot. Leg Press just swept this gym without any setup moves. Moxie is amazing, and so is Leg Press. I'm really starting to like these Moxie sweeps, and in true black and white fashion, we immediately get the chance to sweep again in the rival battle. Jaron opens with Lightbart, who's the perfect candidate for Brick Break one shot. He does fake out me, but he cannot escape his doom. Tranquil comes in and Payback does just over half. Air Cutter does the same to us, but next turn we take it out with Feint attack. Duat just barely lifts the next Brick Break, but we outspeed and take it out before it does any damage. Panzer is last and another Brick Break does the job. After the battle we meet Alder, but nothing interesting happens, so we move on. We do cross another one of those huge drawbridges, so that's cool. Behind the bridge though is Driftful City, home to Clay, the ground type gym leader. And even though we're pretty decently matched, I'm a bit scared of his Excadrill. But we'll cross that bridge once we get there. First we need to beat up some plasma dudes who are hiding in the cold storage. By the way, this is the location where we could find another Timber, but that's off the table now. We eventually find a silo where all the plasma guys are hiding and take them all on. Squad was pulling his weight here and nearly took all of them down, only the last few needed some help from bench press. Clay comes in and arrests these people, and he also tells us that we can now challenge his gym. We take him up on his offer and start the battle with Squad as Clay sends out Krokorok. I go for a bulk up as he hits a Torment. This means we can't use the same move twice in a row, so I use a wake up slap. He swaggers us though and we hit ourselves. I go for another wake up slap and we snap out of confusion already, leaving us at +3 attack. That's perfect. Wake up slap Okos and in comes Spellpotode. Due to Torment I need to use another move, so I go for Chip Away, which surprisingly one-shots. Lastly is the scary Excadrill, but he goes for Hone Claws as we hit a super effective +3 wake up slap. Obviously this one-shots and Clay is already down. There really wasn't that much to be scared about here. As we leave Driftful City, we're of course challenged by Bianca into another rival battle. She sends out her Herdier and we still have Squad in the front. He hits a weak takedown as we one-shot him with Wake Up Slap. In comes Musharna, so I swap into Leg Press. He hits a Feint Attack as Musharna wastes a turn. Next Feint Attack takes it out and Pampor goes down to +1 Brick Break. Surfine then barely lifts a +2 Brick Break as he is a Leech Seed. Bianca goes for her Hyper Potion and Brick Break once again just misses out on the kill. Third time the charm as we now hit a high roll and take out the Surfine. We're currently running somewhat close to the level cap, so I avoid every trainer possible. This eventually led us to the Chargestone Cave, where we have a few mandatory battles. One of them is against N. N opens with Boldor and I send out Leg Press. We needed to hit 3 Brick Breaks to take it down, and N sends out Joltik next. I go for another Brick Break, which takes it down to half, as Joltik uses Gastro Acid, taking away our Moxie ability. We're still at +1 though, so I'm not sweating it. Next Brick Break takes it out and in comes Ferroseed. He too goes down to a Brick Break and so does the Clink. With N defeated, we can leave the Chargestone Cave and arrive in Mistralton City. Here we have one of the scariest gym leaders, Skyla and her flying types. But before we can challenge her, we need to find her at the Celestial Tower. We find her, ring the bell for all of her fallen friends in previous runs and return to the city. Now it's time for Skyla. I lead with Squad as she sends out Woobat. I go for a Rock Slide as she is a super effective hard stamp. Rock Slide leaves us on a sliver, so I go for another. Again, leaving her on a sliver. Knowing she will heal her up again, I go for Bulk Up to ensure the next one kills. It does, as Woobat just goes for Amnesia. Next up is Unfezant, who goes for Leer for some reason. Rock Slide nearly misses out on the kill, and knowing that she's going to heal again, I go for another Bulk Up. Next turn, Unfezant hits another Leer as Rock Slide takes it out. Last up is Swanna, who goes for Aqua Ring, as another Rock Slide just takes it out. This was actually a pretty easy sweep, so much for flying weakness. Not a single flying attack was used. Outside the gym, N wants to follow up on that ruined date of ours, but I reject him. Instead, I just evolve our bench press right in front of him. Moving over to the large mountain range, we talk with Alder, who gives us the HM for Surf. This actually opens up another encounter for us. We do need to backtrack all the way back to the start, but on Route 18 we find a throw. I catch it and name it Deadlift. Deadlift also has the Guts ability, which is great. I then make my way through the twisty, quarry-like mountain and arrive in Icarus City. Just a little north of the city we can find our next encounter, Mienfu. I catch it and name it Bicep Curl. He has a Regenerator ability, which is fine I guess. I also found out that he doesn't evolve until level 50, so yeah, for now he's just a bench warmer. Now it's time for Brycen, and he's probably the easiest gym leader out of all of them. Before the fight, I pre-poison Deadlift and lead with him against Vanillish. I then hit a Gust boosted Storm Throw and in comes Beartic. He uses Swagger on me, but the Person Berry takes care of that. We thank him for the +2 attack and Storm Throw takes it out easily. Lastly is Cryogonal, who also goes down to his Storm Throw. So yeah, that was a really easy gym battle. But with that behind us, it's time to storm the Dragon Spiral Tower. Team Plasma is taken over, so we jump in to save it. We fight a bunch of grunts and we see N take control of Reshiram. After that there are some more plot stuff, such as going to the Relic Castle and the Green City. And here it's decided that I'm the best fit for the Blackstone, despite the champion of this region standing next to me. Oh well, time to go to our final gym badge. We make our way to Opelucid and here we first talk with Alder and witness another Team Plasma speech. We then talk with Iris and Drayden, but I just want to make my way north. Here awaits our final encounter, a Salk. On Route 10 I can catch Salk, but he's a 5% encounter in Rustling Grass, so I sat here for a minimum of 30 minutes before finally encountering it. I did catch it though and named him Pull Up. After that I needed to strategize for the 8th gym. Dragon types are quite difficult to take down, so I needed to theorycraft a little. Eventually I came up with a plan, but it requires some normal gems, so I farmed those and it's time to take on Iris. Iris opens with Fracture and a Guts boosted, normal gem boosted Facade can one-shot it. In comes Druddigon and I use another Facade. This takes him into the healing range, so I can now freely switch into pull up. Druddigon only has physical attacks, so I just keep pressing counter. It took 3 turns, but Druddigon went down. Lastly, there's the scary Hexerus. I swap into Deadlift, who luckily dodges a Dragon Tail. I then go for Guts boosted, normal gem boosted Facade to nearly take it out. I calc this, and this was a range, which we sadly missed. But 2 more Facades take it out, winning us our final batch. This battle was pretty easy, but that's because I had some surefire ways of taking out all of her Pokemon. Right after Iris, we're once again challenged to a rival fight, and these were really starting to get on my nerves. We beat Sharon though without any problem, and now it's time to go through the badge checks. This is actually a really cool part, as we go through a few different themes. We make our way through the Victory Road, and it's time to start prepping for the Elite Four. I was a bit worried about Chantal and Caitlyn, but with some proper planning, I'm sure we can do it. We evolved Bicep Curl into Mienshao, which will be a huge help and some much needed speed, and after that, it's time for Chantal. I lead with Bicep Curl as she sends out Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus has the Mummy ability, which takes away your own ability. Since I want to sweep here with Moxie's Crafty, I need to take this one out with other Pokemon. I start with a Bug Jam boosted U-turn and go into Bench Press. He takes a Psychic and is left at about half, before firing off a Dark Jam boosted Assurance. This nearly takes him out as the next Psychic leaves him at only 9 HP. Next Assurance takes it out and in comes Golurk. I switch into Leg Press as we're hit by a weak Shadow Punch, and I then hit a Dark Jam boosted Crunch to ensure an OHKO on Golurk. We now get our Moxie boost and Chandelure comes in. He hits a mean Fire Blast, but we survive on 21 HP as Crunch one-shots it. Now at +2 attack, we outspeed and one-shot the Jellicent with Crunch and we win the battle. That went pretty smoothly, but Chantal wasn't the scariest part. Next up is Grimsley, the Dark type Elite Four, so he should be easy. I open with Bicep Curl against his Crafty and Drain Punch nearly takes it out. We're hit by Brick Break to about half and Grimsley heals his Crafty to full. We hit another Drain Punch, healing us back to nearly full, and next turn we hit a Force Palm, as Crafty is once again healed. One more Force Palm and he finally goes down. Next up is Liepard, who went for Fake Out. Next turn though, he's one-shotted by Drain Punch, and in comes Bisharp, who's 4 times weak against fighting. He too is one-shotted, and lastly is Crocodile. Thanks to its Intimidate, we miss out on the kill, and he retaliates with an Earthquake, taking us into the red. Next turn though, Drain Punch takes care of it. With that, it's time for Caitlyn. The plan here is to do another Moxie sweep, but I need to do some setting up beforehand. I lead with Bicep Curl and go for a U-turn against a Reuniclus. We just need to not crit here, as we need to kill with Leg Press. One Moxie boost ensures a one-shot on everything else, and luckily we don't get a crit. I then swap into Leg Press, who's immune to the incoming Psychic. Crunch then takes it out, giving us our first Moxie boost. In comes Sigilif, who outspeeds us and hits an Air Slash. He needs to not crit and not flinch, otherwise we're done for. Luckily he doesn't, and Crunch takes it out in one hit. In comes Gothitelle, and he also goes down to a Crunch. Lastly is Musharna, who we also outspeed in one shot. I did equip Leg Press with a Shell Bell so that he heals up in between, but this was a great sweep. Last up is Marshal, who is imitating us by only having fighting types. He does have a Conkeldurr though, so I'm a bit worried, but I got a plan. Before the battle, I taught Bicep Curl Acrobatics, a 55 base power move, or 110 base power if not holding an item. So I made sure that he isn't holding an item, and we now have a 110 base power super effective move. Perfect. Of course, we open with Bicep Curl, as he sends out Throw. I hit an Acrobatics for about 75% damage, as he hits a Bulldoze, lowering our speed. Next turn, Marshal uses a full restore, as I hit a Drain Punch for some recovery. This also puts it in the OHKO range for the next Acrobatics, which we use the next turn to take it out. In comes Conkeldurr, who just goes down to a single Acrobatics, and in comes his own Mienshao. He's faster and hits a Jump Kick, which takes us all the way down to 14 HP. Acrobatics does one-shot it, and lastly is Sulk. I wanted to U-turn out of there, but Sulk somehow outspeeds, killing our Bicep Curl. Damn, I really needed him for the upcoming fight as well. I bring in my pre-poisoned Guts Deadlift and hit a Facade. Sulk lifts thanks to its sturdy, and a turn after we hit a low roll. We're then hit by critical hit Karate Chop all the way down to 25 HP, but our Facade takes it out. The Elite Four is now behind us, but we lost Bicep Curl, a crucial member for our N fight. Speaking about N, he just defeated the champion and summoned a castle out of thin air. We move through the castle and these ninjas suddenly appear to be on our side. Anyway, we need to fight N, but N is going to be incredibly difficult, despite most of his team being weak to fighting. Here's how the battle went. We first have a talk with N before we get pushed into a cool cutscene. I then equip my entire team with the appropriate gems. Rock for Girder, as he'll probably die, and a rock gem boosted rock slide does more damage than an Eviolite boosted one. A normal gem on pull up for a boosted retaliate. And Deadlift has a fighting gem. Deadlift and squat are also pre-poisoned, but N actually heals your party to full at the start of the battle. This was actually really bad for me, as it would have been much easier with some guts boosted facades. Anyway, before battling N, I got the Zekrom and actually added it to my party. Yeah, this is the first time I ever played this part of the game, and Zekrom just looks cool. I'm also only going to use him against Reshiram, and I played him really poorly anyway. I'm sorry for those that don't like it, but yeah, sue me. Against Reshiram, I open with Zekrom and go for Dragon Breath. Reshiram hits a Fusion Flare. These moves alternate for a while until Reshiram kills our Zekrom. Reshiram is paralyzed though, so I go into Leg Press, hoping for the kill. Brick Break leaves him on the sliver, but thanks to the paralysis, the next one outspeeds and takes it out. We now have a Moxie boost, which is great for the remainder of the battle. Clink Clank comes in and hits a Focus Blast. We barely hold on as our Brick Break kills it, revealing it was actually a Zorok. Next up is the actual Clink Clank, who hits a Thunderbolt. Due to the Shell Bell healing, we can take it and our Brick Break takes it out. Vanillux comes in and I can't outspeed, so I swap into Bench Press. Blizzard hits a crit, taking us to below half, and I go for a Flame Charge to get the speed boost. I then go for a Workup as Vanillux hits a Flash Cannon, which is another crit. Awesome. Next turn, our Flame Charge takes it out and in comes Caracosta, who takes out our starter with an Aqua Jet. Rest in peace, buddy. I then bring in Salk, who's hit by a mean waterfall, but counter takes out the Water Turtle. In comes Archeops, and we're in a lot of trouble. I go for Brick Break, but Archeops outspeeds and kills us. I send in Squat, who also goes down to an Acrobatics. The same goes for Deadlift, and the same goes for Leg Press. That Archeops was a menace. In fact, I actually went back to check, and he literally outspeeds and one-shots my entire team. There was no way I would have ever be able to win this battle. They weren't even rolls, they were just straight up one-shots. The only thing that you can do here is encounter dependent. If you have a sturdy Salk, you can live in Acrobatics and counter it back, but our Salk did not have sturdy. This strategy does mean you need to sacrifice something, but it would literally be the only way. Anyway, that's actually a loss. Still, I had a lot of fun doing this run. Going through Unova for the very first time was a lot of fun, and the run went actually really good. Moxie's Crafty was incredible, and Guts, Throw and Girder were really great as well. I do have to say, Embor was a little underwhelming, especially during the late game, but aside from him, I really just loved the entire team. We did end in defeat, but I had a good time, and I hope you did as well. That's it for this video, and I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.